No way they just did this, as the New York Rangers organization has officially re-signed Chris Drury to a multi-year extension, and we're going to break down what this means for the team heading forward, because James Dolan gives his stamp of approval. Fans are absolutely livid at the decision, and we're going to break down what this means for the team moving forward, because it is a genuinely shocking decision. We're going to break it all down in this episode of Rangers Digest, but before we do that, a quick reminder to hit that subscribe button. About 74% of you who watch these videos are not actually subscribed to the channel. So if you want to stay up to date with everything that's happening with your New York Rangers, because again, day by day, it just doesn't stop. Things just keep happening with this team. It's free. Hit that subscribe button down below and you get to stay up to date with everything happening with the team. But let's dive right into it. It just came out that Chris Drury has officially agreed to a multi-year contract extension. Now, people, we are going to get to the fan reaction in just a second. Fans are genuinely upset about this. And honestly, I've been a big defender. If you're new here and this is the first video you're watching, I have been a big defender of Chris Drury and his moves. I don't think they're as bad as people say they are. But this decision by James Dolan is absolutely absurd. This general manager, this president, should be gone if the team does not take a significant step forward, and not just the mentality, but the actual play on the ice. You need to make the playoffs next year. And I feel like waiting to see what happens next year based on the moves that he makes this summer would have been the correct course of action. Not this. Again, I've been a big defender of his moves on the channel, but we'll get into what James Dolan said here. I am pleased that Chris will continue to lead the Rangers hockey operations in this role as president and general manager. Over his tenure, Chris has shown passion for the Rangers, relentless work ethic, and a tireless pursuit of excellence. While we are all disappointed in what transpired this past season, I am confident in his ability to guide this organization to success. I am not necessarily confident in that. That last part, I am not, because I want to see what he's able to do with this team with the way they currently are right now. He's starting to deconstruct and reconstruct this team from what we knew them to be the last couple of years into what they're going to be in the future, which can still be a contender in the next couple of years. But we need to see what he does with the team this summer, what he's planning to do, because if it ends horribly again next year, now Chris Drury is signed long term. This is a puzzling decision at this time. I could see them retaining him. But from everything we heard, James Dolan absolutely loves Chris Drury and signed him to a multi-year contract extension. Absolutely insane. And then again, if you want to read the whole press release, you can read here if you want to pause and read it. This was the entire thing. And obviously they get into the success of the Rangers in his time, which they have. They've been to 2 conference finals. That's not nothing. And yes, he didn't get the star pieces, right? He didn't get a lot of the star guys on the team during that time, but he did build up the team a little bit. I have to give credit where credit is due, and a lot of people might roll their eyes at that. But I don't think that Chris Drury's his moves as GM are as bad as a lot of people say they are. But he's in a prove it year right now, and you gave him this multi-year contract extension before he was able to prove anything. He's about to move into a prove it summer, and you gave him this contract extension before he did anything. It's a puzzling decision. It really is. Now, the New York Rangers have, this is from Molly Walker, again, announced a multi-year extension with president and general manager Chris Drury. And again, he goes into, James Dolan, this is into how much success the team has had the last couple of years. Like I just mentioned, he's deconstructing that team right now as we speak. It's been happening throughout the course of this season, and they didn't make the playoffs. This summer he has an opportunity to grab some pieces in free agency, through the draft, to really start to build up this team again. And I think that they could actually make the playoffs next year. I do believe that. But we need to actually see what he does with the team before we give out contract extensions like this. So pretty shocking in that way. Now, Vince Marcogliano had a couple thoughts on this. 2 quick thoughts on this. Number 1, this reinforces what we've been saying for months. Dolan still thinks highly of Drury and isn't planning to make a change there. Now, and consider this a vote of confidence to quiet any noise. I can understand that he thinks maybe get the multi-year contract extension out of the way so then all that noise goes away over the course of the next year, because it was going to be a distraction, right? I can understand that, but at the same time, and I mean, listen, this is number 2 and what I was about to get to. it doesn't really reduce any pressure. I mean, Chris Drury still has to get the job done. Change can still happen at any time if the Rangers continue to lose. It's just not happening now, which we already knew. But we already knew that. So why would you give him the contract extension? That's just a waste of money if you're going to fire him a year or two in anyway. So again, this might be just to quiet the noise a little bit. I can appreciate that, but it still doesn't make too much sense to me. But again, I don't think I do believe Chris Drury can turn this around. I honestly do believe that. And, you know, a lot of you who've been around on the channel for a while know that that's how I feel about this. I do honestly believe that. But at the same time, like I've been saying, giving him this contract extension at this point in time is crazy. But let's get into a quote from Chris Drury himself after signing the contract extension. He said, "I am honored to sign this contract extension and continue in this position with this team I grew up supporting. As I said when I began in this role nearly 4 years ago, there isn't a more special organization in hockey, and I look forward to continuing our work this offseason to help us reach our goals for next season and in the coming years." And again, this is the type of response that you would expect from Chris Drury in this press release, right? Nothing too crazy there, but you know, he has a huge opportunity in front of him this summer to get something done and make a splash. But let's get into some of the fan reaction now, and let me know what you think of this signing in the comments. I know exactly what I'm going to see down there in the comment section, but let me know what you think about this signing, because I've given my thoughts. I don't think Chris Drury's moves have been as bad as people say to this point. I think he's made some sneaky good moves. He's made some bad moves. Every GM does, right? He's made some bad moves, but I think he's set this team up in an interesting way right now, and he has an opportunity to, you know, really set things up nicely through free agency this summer. But to give him this contract extension at this point, when next year is a prove-it year, it's just unbelievable to me. But anyway, they can, I guess they can move off of him at any point, but then you already gave him the contract. But anyway, this is the fan reaction. This is from Evan. "I legit don't give a single bleep about the Rangers for the foreseeable future. They're actually dead to me. Keeping the GM around that has done nothing but drag this team down is a bleeping disgrace. This guy has developed one of the worst cultures I've ever seen that speaks volumes with how the Mets were under." We know what happened. And a ton of other New York sports teams, right? And, you know, other sports teams in general. We know. He says, "What a slap to the face of this fan base." Now, NYR Louis, the Rangers just extended Chris Drury. Bleep this team. And then, you know, fan reaction from around the league, not just the Rangers. I'm not gonna lie, a Chris Drury extension today is wacky business. I do believe it is. It's odd. It's weird. I don't know why he got a contract extension today. Maybe to quiet the noise, like I've been saying throughout the video. That would be the only reason, right? I mean, it's odd. The fans are not happy. And again, I think a lot of you are gonna say it in the comments, right? How can you believe Chris Drury's done a good job? What about the culture thing, right? I think a lot of it falls on the players too. If you're a player on this team, you have to recognize that sometimes your friends are going to get traded, right? And the way it happened, I can understand why you'd be frustrated, but your job, because you're still getting paid by the New York Rangers, is to get back to work and try and make the playoffs. So I can understand from a human aspect, I can relate to the players and be like, listen, like, everything that happened, like, I don't want to play for this organization anymore, or I want this guy gone, I want a different culture. But, you know, it goes in the room too. And they just got JT Miller. I do wonder if he's going to be a captain next year of this team and, you know, building up a new culture in the room as well. I mean, it has to happen within the room as well, but I can understand that. But, you know, the communication has to flow throughout the organization. They're going to get a new coach here. The GM has to communicate with the coach. The coach has to communicate with his players. I feel like there was a huge disconnect throughout all of that this season. That was clear, and now Peter Laviolette is gone. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens throughout the season. But again, has Chris Drury made some bad moves? Absolutely. I don't know if a lot of his moves are as bad as people are making them out to be. I think, you know, he has something in mind that he isn't done yet. I want to see what he does through free agency and the draft. Then we can really judge him in this prove-it summer. And then what the team does next year, we can really see, you know, what his vision was for all of this. But to get the contract extension before we see all of that is wild to me. But let me know what you think in the comments about all of this, because the timing of this is absolutely insane. And there's going to be a lot of fallout, I'm sure. So we'll keep you updated here on the channel. And if you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button so you can stay up to date with everything New York Rangers.